reacted to it. So I put in the comments, I told him about it a little bit, and I put my number on there, and within 24 hours, he called me. This guy called me, and we struck up a conversation, and I asked him if he would come maybe and spend a weekend. I have to admit, when I saw the video, I'm like, this guy's probably in Israel. I didn't have any idea where he was. Well, it so happened he lives in Houston, Texas. And I asked him if he would come and maybe spend a weekend with us. And I told him, I said, we're not a large fellowship. We can't, probably can't afford to pay you what it's worth. And he said, tell you what I'll do. I'll catch a plane. I'll wear a hat. We'll pass it around, and whatever happens, happens. And that blessed me. And I think we made it worth his while to make that trip. But I asked him, I think then, if he would consider coming back and doing Sukkot for us. And he's done it that year and every year since. He blocked us off. I think you just block us off automatically, don't you, John? Mm-hmm. That's amazing, because he travels the whole world doing this. But he blocks this week off to come here and be with us, because he has an open door here. He can come here anytime he's in the area. He has a door here to come in and speak. We love him, and we appreciate what he does. And so, John, I thank you for coming and being with us. At the time, I think you only had about 3 videos, and they were all just short, maybe 20 minutes or less. Now, what I think is 8 years later, he probably has 150, and a lot of them are 2 hours or more. And John's an amazing man, and we are grateful for him and the opportunity to host him here. And we're blessed. We're small in number tonight, but I'm telling you, everyone, we're going to be blessed by what he's going to share with us. So, are we streaming now? We're on. Okay. So, John, thank you for coming, and I hope everything is ready to go for you. So, what will you tell me?
3607.
It's turning.
Ring a bell?
What is it?
3607.
3607. No.
Give me a second to check this. Checking our live stream here.
Here he is.
We pay Charter $187 a month to use their internet for about 4 nights a month usually, and I'm not happy with what's happened the last. It's the enemy. He is the prince of the power of the air, and we are invading his territory, and we're doing battle. It's still true. Does it say it's online? Does it say it's streaming?
Yes.
And of course, my guess is this is all going out online. Obviously, thank them.
Those are my videos. What's 3606? Oh, I don't even know what that is. I guess that YouTube. Well, maybe YouTube named me that. I did. Yeah, I don't know. Are we going? Are we ready?
We're trying to find our stream, John.
Yes,
I'm
okay.
trying to make sure we're actually streaming, because I don't want to. Have you posted it to our Facebook page? It's posted? Because I'm not. It should be showing that screen right there. His screen.
I've got it live on Facebook. I mean, YouTube. Live on YouTube.
It does.
Live on YouTube, John.
It's live on YouTube, but is it? It's not posted.
Johnny.
Hold on. Let me check. I'm checking something here.
Are we ready?
Hold on, John. Let me just.
She's looking at it on YouTube. So.
Say again?
We're good.
Oh, yeah, I think
We're good, John.
you printed them out here in previous years. All for right now, for tonight? We don't need it tonight.
This is so professional.
Yeah.
We're
For tomorrow,
so
let's print them out for future nights. That'd be a good idea. We've done it in the past.
We're on, we're going.
We're on, okay, let's go. We got to finish a little thing from last night. Remember yesterday we talked about wisdom and discernment? And we'll take 5 minutes just to remind you. Wisdom is Chachma. Its gematria was 73. And understanding, which also in the oftentimes is translated as discernment, right? Wisdom and discernment, those go together like love and marriage, right? Discernment. But some translations say understanding, and I oftentimes write understanding on my slides. But just know it's discernment. And what is discernment? Knowing good from evil, right? That's discernment. Okay? That's going to be important for today. And this word for understanding or discernment is binah. It's a bet, yod, noon, hey. It adds up to 67. That's important. Chachma, wisdom, 73. Discernment, 67. And we're going to jump into the end here. Okay.
John, can I interrupt you for just 1 second? Those who are watching from home, I'm noticing something here. I usually watch you on my phone, okay? And you were talking about not being able to see what you're pointing at. I'm watching you on my computer, and I can see pretty plainly what you're pointing at because it's a bigger image. So I might mention to people that are watching this from their phone, if you're close to your computer or your television, and you watch it on your computer or TV, you can see what he's pointing at. Because I can see it real well on my computer. So just that was for your mom.
Okay.
That was for your mom.
Okay.
Just to let her know.
I don't have to repeat anything you said, do I? Or do anything?
No, because I'm speaking into a
No idea what
microphone.
he's talking about.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I thought that was important.
Don't speak while I'm interrupting. Okay, so let's go back to Garden of Eden, Genesis 3, verse 5. This is where the snake, Nakash, snake in Hebrew, Nakash, tells the girl Eve, eat from the tree. And she says, oh no, we can't eat from it or even touch it. By the way, that's not tonight's lesson, but God never said anything about not touching it. Did you notice that? Okay, she added that. She did not read her Bible, which was very small at the time. So touching was no problem. But nevertheless, she did eat. But he says to her, for God knows that in the day that you eat of it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil. What is that? What is knowing good from evil? That's discernment, right? You will be wise like God, and you will have discernment. There it is. So, what he's promising is, you're a man, and if you have understanding, you will be like Yahweh Elohim. Does that make sense? Man plus, okay, watch this. Man, the word for man is Adam. Understanding is Binah. And Yahweh Elohim is Lord God. Okay, this is cool. Oh, here they are in Hebrew. Adam, Binah, Yahweh Elohim. Let's put the gematria values in. Man is 1440, that's 45. Binah is 67, and Yahweh Elohim is 112. You know what? The math is correct. You notice that? If you take man and he has understanding, he will be like Yahweh Elohim. So what the serpent was promising mathematically works out. But there's a problem. So when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree desirable to make one wise, she took from of its fruit and ate. She also gave it to her husband with her, and he ate. Watch this. Oh, by the way, those three things that he promised, it's good for food. That's lust of the flesh. It's pleasant to the eyes. That's lust of the eyes. And it'll make you wise. That's pride of life. Those are the three things Satan always attacks with. Those are the three things he attacked Jesus with in the wilderness. If you study the Jews when they left Egypt and they're wandering in the wilderness, all three of those got, and I have a video about that, I don't know which one, but watch all my 100 videos and you'll see. Okay, so she also gave to her husband, and he ate. Here's and he ate. Notice it begins with a vav. Vav is and, right? It's a nail. And then you have yod. A yod in front of a word is he. And then you have the word akal, which is ate. And he ate. Vayokal. And what happens? What did he promise? If you ate, you would have discernment. You would know good from evil, right? Knowing good from evil, understanding. Here's understanding. What is it? Oh, the man and he ate. Vayokal. There it is. Put in the gematria. And he ate adds up to 67. That's getting to promising the discernment. Isn't that cool? But it didn't work, right? Because he didn't become like Yahweh Elohim. Okay, what did happen? You have man, and man is now short of getting understanding. Instead of getting understanding when he ate and becoming like God, he became void of understanding, right? He's lacking something. What is man lacking now to get true understanding? You're never going to be like God, right? Well, we have the Torah. If man plus the Torah, will that give you understanding? That'll be a logical idea in my brain, okay? Ha-Torah is that. If you put that in there, and by the way, there's a type of gematria in Hebrew where you just ignore all the zeros, okay? They've got lots of different gematrias, the Jews do. One of them is ignore the zeros. So, and just put in the 5, 2, 6, 4, 5, which adds up to 22. And 45 and 22 gives you, so that makes sense, right? Man plus Torah, and you have wisdom, you have discernment. Another thing that could be is Aleph Tav. Remember, what is Aleph Tav? Aleph, and some of you are new and don't know, but Aleph Tav, Aleph is the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet. Tav is the last letter of the Hebrew alphabet. So Aleph Tav is the whole alphabet, right? From A to B, or A to Z. Alpha to Omega, beginning to end, okay? Which is, if you're talking about a Hebrew alphabet, that's the Word of God, right? It's the whole alphabet. So, and how many letters are in the Hebrew alphabet? 22, which once again, 45 plus Aleph Tav will give you wisdom and discernment. Will give you discernment. Aleph Tav, by the way, is also, well, that's the word of God because it's the entire alphabet. Aleph, remember each Hebrew letter has a picture associated with it. Aleph is God's letter. Tav is the cross. So Adam plus Aleph Tav 22 from the first 22 letters. God on the cross. That'll give you discernment. Okay. I think that's the end of that one. So that was the little thing we left off last night to bring you back tonight. Now we got to close this and open this one. Should be already open.
Wisdom is 73, and discernment is 67.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see if this... Did that go up there? Okay. Tonight's topic is, this is a good topic. No, you don't know what it is yet, do you? We haven't talked. Humor in the Bible. That should be fun, huh? Okay. So let's just go with the beginning here. Genesis 1:26. Then God said, let us make man in our image according to our likeness. You know this. By the way, whenever I read this verse, I'm always confused because in our image, according to our likeness, it sounds like he's repeating himself. It sounds like he's repeating himself. Right? What's the difference between image and likeness? That's a good question in English. In Hebrew, there are two different words with two different meanings. And they got translated badly in English. So it's in our image. This bet in the front, that's in. This anu at the end, that's our. You can see the dark underline, they match up, right? The core word in the middle there is cell. Cell means like shadow or spirity, shadowy part, okay? Sal. Bet sal menu. And so this is the spiritual side. That we're made in his spiritual image. And then the next word is kinematenu. The ke is two. Anu is still our. And the root word is dam. Dam is the Hebrew word for blood. That's the physical side. So we are made in God's spiritual image. And we are made in God's physical image. So I assume God has fingers and an arm and a head, because that's the physical side. And then there's the spiritual side. And I'm thinking, if we're made in his image, if we laugh, God must laugh. Right? So that's the premise. And here's, this may be and when you talk about spiritual, that's the heavens. And when you talk about physical, that's the earth. So when it says in Genesis 1:1, God made the heavens and the earth, that's the spiritual and the physical. Make sense? Okay? And just, what is God's name? We know God's name, right?
Yahweh.
Yahweh, right? If you write that name vertically, watch. That's Yud Hey Vav Hey. Notice the Yud could be a head. And the Hey is two arms. And then you have a Vav for a body. And then you have a Hey for two legs. We are in his image. Even his name. I mean, this is a funny God. Right? He's got a sense of humor. All right. If we jump to Ecclesiastes 3:4, it says, there's a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance. So I think he's sanctioning laughter. Okay? We're not going to get in trouble tonight for laughing. The Hebrew word for laugh is sahak. The shin, het. You got to do that. If not, it's not a soft H, it's a hard H. And then a kuf, sahach. So I thought I'm going to go through the Bible, and any story that just amuses me, I think it's funny, I'm going to throw it in this talk, and that's what you're about to get. Okay? And one of the first things that I thought was kind of funny was Genesis 3:10. God is walking through the garden in the cool of the day, and he says, "Where are you?" Notice he's not trampling through the vintage where the grapes of wrath are stored. "All right, you sinners, where are you? I know you're here." That's not God. God is, "Where are you? Hey." Right? He knows what they've done, but he's not attacking. He said, and Adam says, "I heard the sound of you in the garden. I was afraid because I was naked, so I hid myself." And God says, "Who told you you were naked?" That's funny. Right? Because he's giving himself away, as most of us do when we sin. You know? "Have you eaten from that tree which I commanded you not to eat?" And then he does what men do. He blames somebody else. The man said, "The woman that you gave me, she's the one who gave me the fruit and I ate." Right? So then he turns to the woman. And he says to the woman, "What is it that you have done?" She did the same thing. The woman said, "It's the serpent. He deceived me and I ate." Right? It's so human, the responses. But it's funny. To me it is, anyway. All right. Hold on. I got a piece of lettuce here that I just can't swallow for some reason. That wasn't supposed to be funny. It's floating around in there.
Get it out.
Okay.
Take it out.
By the way, I do a lot of archaeological stuff, and I happened to find Adam and Eve's address in my research. This was an old envelope that I don't know if you knew they lived at 281 Apple Street. Y'all get that joke?
Yeah.
You're gonna get it. And in my archaeological doings, I've actually found other things that I think are even more rare. This one here, y'all know what that is? Or that? This is Adam and Eve's baby pictures. Okay, we jump ahead to chapter 4. Are you glad you came tonight? Yes. Wish I could say the same. No, I love it here. And the Lord said to Cain, "Where is Abel, your brother?" And he said, "I do not know. Am I my brother's keeper?" Okay. So you know God then eventually banishes him, right? And it says, "Then Cain left the presence of the Lord and settled in the land of Nod, east of Eden." We don't know much about the land of Nod. But what is kind of punny is the Hebrew word Nod means to move to and fro and to wander. So when he sent him to the land of Nod, he sends him to the land of wandering. Okay? Because you're going to wander now. You're not going to be settled down anywhere. That's a little pun that if you don't know Hebrew, you don't get it. And there's lots of those things. Here's another one. In Genesis 8, whenever the ark, the rain stopped and it's starting to go down, and then Noah releases a dove, right, to see what happens here. But the dove found no resting place for the sole of her foot. So she returned to him. Who's him?
Noah.
Him. Noah. Oh, by the way, Noah is actually, it has that het. That's what his name is, Noah. None of us say that. The Jews do, because that's his name, Noah. It's that het versus the hay. Okay, so just know that's what it is. Anyway, the dove found no resting place, so she returned to him into the ark for the water of it. The word for resting place is manoach. So the bird could not find a manoach, so he returned to Noah. Another play on words that we miss in English. You understand? Some of these aren't rip-roaring, side-splitting humor. Some are just funny. But that's a kind of clever thing there that's in there that we don't always see.
Yeah.
You know who, Manoach, you know where we see this before again? 3 points for whoever knows where Manoach. Where we get that? That was Samson's father, was Manoach. I think. Okay, let's go on forward. Genesis 11. It says the whole world had one language and a common form of speech. And they said to one another, "Come, let us make bricks and bake them thoroughly." So they used brick instead of stone and tar instead of mortar. "Come," they said, "let us build for ourselves a city with a tower that reaches to heavens, that we may make a name for ourselves and not be scattered over the face of the earth." I think that's just funny. And there's going to be something else funny with it. But I think it's funny that somebody would have the whatever and say, "Let's build a tower to the heavens." You know, it's so ridiculous. And how do they not see it? It's so ridiculous. You know? But they said, "Come, let us make bricks." You know, that's a very communist concept. I've said to some of you, I live in Kyrgyzstan, which was ex-Soviet Union. So there's a lot of people who live there who actually still wish for the Soviet Union communists to come back, because then we would all be a perfect paradise if it was done right. It wasn't done right with Stalin. It wasn't done right with Mao. But if we did it right, it would work. And there's a lot of people who still embrace that concept. But that's a horrible concept, because it's this: let us make bricks. We're all the same. But we're not all the same. God doesn't make bricks. Okay? God makes stones. And every stone is different. Right? So, by the way, where I stay in Kyrgyzstan, there's a river out across the street, and you walk down, and I went out for 5 minutes, and that's what I gathered. Isn't that pretty? When I had to throw a bucket of water on it, and then all the colors came out, and I quickly took the picture. But I thought that was pretty cool. For just just so different every rock. You know, that's God. No two alike. These are not from the river. These are from my rock collection, which I keep scattered on around the world on the ground. Maybe you've seen my seashell collection, which I keep scattered on beaches around the world. Okay, Genesis 17. Then God said to Abraham, "As for Sarai, your wife, do not call her Sarai, for her name shall be Sarah. and I will bless her and will surely give you a son by her. I will bless her, and she will be the mother of nations. Kings of peoples will descend from her. Abraham fell face down. Then he laughed and said to himself, can a child be born to a man who is 100 years old? Can Sarah give birth at the age of 90? And Abraham said to God, oh, that Ishmael might be under your blessing. Abraham had his own plan, but God's got his plan. God replied, your wife Sarah will indeed bear you a son, and you will name him Yitzhak. I will establish my covenant with him as an everlasting covenant for his descendants after him. His name is Yitzhak. Remember, I told you what laughter was before. It was tzahak. And if you put a yod in front of a verb, that's third person future. A yod in front of a verb, third person would be he, future, will, tzahak, he will laugh. Which, I told you last night, if you remember, the Jews, they laugh at the concept of a promised son, Jesus. So this naming of a son is a prophetic picture. You're laughing at this promised son, Abraham, you know, and now forever, every time you see him, call him, look at him, you're going to remember that you laughed at my promise, okay? And it's also not only just for Abraham and his son, but the Jews and their promised son. Because the Jews will tell you, there is nothing we know for sure except Jesus is not our Messiah. And that's the only thing that is for sure.
Right.
And so they laugh at the promised son, Jesus. Okay, I'll go again. Then the Lord said, I will return to you this time next year. Your wife Sarah will have a son. Now Sarah was behind him listening at the entrance to the tent. So she laughed to herself, saying, after I am worn out and my master is old, will I now have this pleasure? And the Lord asked Abraham, why did Sarah laugh and say, can I really bear a child when I'm old? Is anything too difficult for the Lord? At the appointed time I will return in about a year, and Sarah will have a son. But Sarah was afraid, so she denied it and said, I did not laugh. No, replied Yahweh, you laughed. Okay? Abraham, I think, Abraham's laugh was more of wonder. Like, oh, you know, if I told you, I don't even have an example. I was telling these kids in the front row here about, I told my friends in Kyrgyzstan, I want to refilm the Elijah. Remember they took the cloak and struck the river and it stopped flowing. But we have a river in front of my house. You saw the rocks. And I said, I want to stop that river. He said, you can't stop a river, John. What are you talking about? Remember, these are communist, atheist, ex-atheist, Soviet mentality. I said, no. With God, all things are possible. If I want to stop this river, I don't know how God will do it, but we'll get some big metal plates and we'll build a dam or a temporary. Later, like in the week, I went for a walk upstream, and there were these giant gates, and you turned the handle and they went down, and they shut the river off. And I found out the lady who managed it and paid her husband $5. So I took my Hard Rock shirt and hit the water, and it stopped flowing, and we filmed me crossing. And then they opened the gates, and then come up, and the river starts flowing again. So it's kind of laughing and wonder. When I told my friends, I'm going to stop this river, I want to stop a river. That was the thing, okay? When Sarah laughed, it was more like, no, I don't believe it. Okay, one was laughing and more like, maybe it wasn't so much laughing that I couldn't stop the river, but knowing that John's going to stop this river. I don't know how he's going to do it, or God's going to stop this river. But just the absurdity of my request caused them to laugh. And they didn't laugh at that it wasn't going to stop. They were laughing because they knew it was going to stop, because when John says he's going to do something and God's going to help him, it gets done. You know? years ago in Kyrgyzstan, and this is a 2-minute, if that, we were walking to the store along the river, and I just glanced over and there was this giant boulder in the middle of the river. And I said, hey Max, look, that big boulder, that looks like a chair. It's upside down, but you see, it's just a big boulder shaped like a chair. He said, yeah. No, I think we should get that out of the river. It's a boulder. It's big. It's a boulder. You're not going to roll it. The 10 people aren't going to roll it. You know? And he's going, come on, let's go. I said, no, that would be perfect in your mother-in-law's garden. And within a day, I had him calling a crane truck. And they charge $25. I mean, you charge $25. You know, in America, they charge $25 to answer the phone. And this is $25, and that's for 2 hours of crane truck.
Wow.
And he shows up, and they get down the river, they put strap up, put it on the truck, took it to the garden. Now we now have a five-piece patio set. A chair, a king's chair, a queen's chair. I found a table the size of this table, flat as can be. It's just a big boulder. Flat, and then 2 small chairs for guests. There's this whole sitting area. So whenever I say we're going to do something, with God's help,
Of course.
they don't question anymore. They got caught laughing at the beginning. And now they just believe, okay, he's going to shut the river. Well, now they're going to shut the river. Hey, what happened?
Is your screen black when you,
Yes,
then you make it click to the next?
I got to do everything.
Yeah.
All right. Oh. I will tell you, those are my secret notes, the green, anything in green.
Get those.
Abraham, by the way, it's kind of funny that his name was Abram, right? And I think I might have here, yeah. Here, the name was Abram, Aleph Bet Resh Mem. Aleph Bet is Abba. Abba means father, okay? And then you have Bet Resh, those two. Bet Resh is Bar, that's son. So it's interesting, Abram's name has father and son, both in it. And then these last two, Resh Mem, that's the word room. Room is high, exalted. So you have a father of exalted sons. What a name for a guy who had no kids, right?
Yeah.
And he's making a promise to a 100-year-old, hey, 100-year-old, you're going to have a son. I can just imagine, Abram, you already named me Abram, which is the wrong name. I'm not the father of exalted sons. I got no sons. And now you're telling me I'm going to have a baby? But he changed his name from Abram to Abraham, right? And you can see the difference. Abram, Abraham. He put a hey in there. Remember in his name, Yud Hey Vav Hey, Yahweh. He has two hays. Hey is grace or blessing. Each letter has a meaning. You know, God is full of grace. He's got two of them in his name. Okay, and he gives one to Abram. So he puts the hey in there. And then Sarai, he changes her name to Sarah. So she gets a hey. All right? So and it's funny, they both laugh, but God kind of has the last laugh. Right? Because they end up having a son. And I said Abraham laughed in wonder, and Sarah, she laughed in unbelief. There's no way a 9-year-old woman's going to have a baby. Okay? But then later it says, by faith Sarah also received strength to conceive seed. She bore a child when she was past the age because she judged him faithful who had promised. And the Lord attended Sarah. Sarah conceived. Abraham gave the name Yitzhak. When his son Isaac was 8 days, they circumcised. Abraham was 100. Then Sarah said, God has made me laugh, and everyone who hears of this will laugh with me, which is nice. Because I look at Abraham laughed in wonder, Sarah laughed in unbelief, and they both laughed in joy. Oh. Okay. Now, there's different kinds of humor in the Bible, and this one, not all this humor is going to be politically correct. God is not politically correct always, so just know that. But I think this is kind of amusing. When Rachel saw that she bore Jacob no children, Rachel envied her sister and said to Jacob, give me children, else I die. And notice she doesn't say, give me a child. Children, she gives them plural, right? And I checked the Hebrew, it's plural in the Hebrew too. Okay? So the funny thing, maybe, a little sick humor, Rachel began to give birth and she suffered several difficulties, severe difficulties in her labor. When she is suffering, I said, do not fear, you have another son. It came about as her soul was departing, for she died, that she named him Ben-Oni, but his father called him Ben-Yamin. Rachel died and buried on the way to that place near Bethlehem. Okay. So, I got a new phone and I don't know how to use it. I don't know how to turn it off. I don't know how to do anything. Who in the world is this? From Arizona? I don't know anybody in Arizona. Should I get it?
Yeah.
Katie Hobbs.
See, I don't even know how to do that. Oh, there. Okay. I am so illiterate on technology. Unless it's Russian PowerPoint. So, it's kind of interesting that she says, give me children, lest I die. And then she had a first son, Joseph, and as soon as she had children, she died. That's called irony. There's all the different kinds of humor. God uses all of them, okay? So, and just so you know, irony is not the opposite of wrinkly. Hey. Okay, since we mentioned Joseph, this I always thought was interesting and kind of funny. You have the two people who were in jail. Remember the Pharaoh put them in jail, and Joseph met them in there. There was the cupbearer and the baker. Which one survived?
Cupbearer.
Does anyone know for sure?
Survive.
The cupbearer. Because the cupbearer holds wine. Wine is blood, right? Which one saves us? Not the flesh, not the bread. It's the wine, the blood. So that's, you can always remember which one lived and which one died. Okay? But at the beginning, we don't know. We do know that they're both had a dream. Joseph interprets them. And then they're told this. And remember, here's the baker down below. And the cupbearer is up top. We're going to hear the cupbearer what was told to him first. It says, and said, look, that right there is exactly the same as that. So what both of them are going to be told, you don't need to read the Hebrew. I just want you to see that the words are the same. They're both hearing the same words. Okay? So, and said Joseph, and Joseph said, that's what that's saying. So, right now, they're both on the edge of their seat. Okay, what? This, they both got one of those. Interpretation, 3 branches or baskets, because one of them had a dream of baskets on his head, right? One of them had a tree with branches. So that's the only difference, but it's, so far they're getting the same word. They are 3 days. So they both heard it. Now remember, the cupbearer is hearing his sentence first. The baker hasn't heard his, but when the baker does start hearing his, the baker is hearing the same words. So whatever outcome the cupbearer had, the baker is listening intently and goes, "Ooh, these are the same words he got. These are the same words." He's excited. You understand? Okay, where were we? Joseph said, this interpretation of 3 branches, there are 3 days. Within 3 days, Pharaoh will lift up Aleph Tav, your head, and restore your position. That's what the cupbearer heard. That's what the baker heard also, applying to the cupbearer. So he's excited. So he hears him within 3 days, Pharaoh will lift up your head from you. Newman! And you get right to that last and it changes. He missed it by that much. But that's kind of funny that the sentences are exact. I mean, I'm copying the Hebrew from the Hebrew, right? This is not their word for word, except the last word. Okay, speaking of Pharaoh, when Joseph got all the best land at the end of Genesis, and now we're in Exodus, and there's a new Pharaoh, and he doesn't remember the promises of the old Pharaoh and Joseph and all that. And so the new Pharaoh says, "Come, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply. And in the event of war, they will also join themselves to those who hate us and fight against us and depart from the land." Right? And so he's going to make them all slaves. Now that's in verse 10. Let's go 2 verses later. "And the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied, and the more they spread out so that they were in dread of the sons of Israel." That alone is funny, right? Because Pharaoh says, we need to deal severely with these people because they're going to multiply. So lest they multiply, but then the more they multiplied. Look at those 2 words. Here is lest they multiply, and here is the more they multiplied. You notice anything? Look, same, almost same. Those 2 phrases are just so close, right? This is a cough. This is a pay. The pay letter, its picture is a mouth. Well, that green thing up there, that could be a mouth, right? All right. And a cough is an open hand. Notice that pay has this, the only difference is this little tooth that hangs down, right? Which, if pay is a mouth, that little thing could be a tooth, yeah? And it's kind of funny in Job, he says, "I broke the jaws of the wicked and snatched the prey from its teeth."
Amen.
Notice, this is what Pharaoh promised, and this is what he ended up getting. He got his teeth knocked out. Right? Because that's the only thing different, is that tooth is knocked out. Let's see. Exodus 2:10. "When the child had grown older, she brought him to Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. She named him Moshe and explained, 'I drew him out of the water.'" We know this, right? Pharaoh's daughter. She, by the way, I don't know if you know this, Pharaoh's daughter, she was a financial whiz. She went down to the bank of the Nile and drew out a little profit. And this Moses guy, he said, please, Lord, Moses replied, I have never been eloquent, neither in the past nor since you have spoken to your servant, for I am slow of speech and tongue. And the Lord said to him, who gave man his mouth? Or who makes the mute or the deaf, the sighted or the blind? Is it not I, the Lord? Now go, I will help you as you speak, and I will teach you what to say. The only thing funny here is that God picked a guy who can't speak to be his mouthpiece. That alone is funny, okay? And I can relate because God chose a man with a speech defect to be his mouthpiece, and I relate because I don't know Hebrew, I only teach it. You know? If a Jew came in here and said any sentence, I would have no idea what they said. I just want you to know who your team's teaching you, okay? But if you gave me a paragraph, I would not be able to read it or translate it. And I can't, if you say, hey, translate this sentence. No, I can't. I know the alphabet, and I know all these hidden things that God has provided, and you can know it too. You don't need to know and speak Hebrew. You understand? To see God's wonders in his language. Probably does help, though. This is kind of funny. Then Pharaoh commanded all his people, saying, every son who is born, you are to throw him into the Nile, but every daughter you are to keep alive. The funny thing about this is the punishment that he inflicted on the Jews, and it ended up backfiring. God inflicted that on Pharaoh. Moses reached his hand out over the sea returned to its normal state. While the Egyptians were fleeing right into it, then the Lord overthrew the Egyptians in the midst of the sea. So if the Jews' sons are going to be thrown into the river, the Egyptian sons are going to be thrown into the sea. God's going to say, like, yeah, I'll see you and I'll raise you. You know? I'll see your river and raise you a sea. This is a little later, they're in the wilderness wandering. When the Israelites saw it, they said to each other, what is it? Remember, they come out of their tents, they're hungry, and there's this white stuff all over the ground. For they did not know what it was. And Moses said to them, it is the bread which the Lord has given you to eat. You know, when they said, what is it? How do you say, what is it in Hebrew? Well, the Hebrew word for what is ma. And is it is not. So when you ask, what is it? You say, ma na. What is it? And God said, yes, that's what we'll call it. Ma na. What is it? It's funny. All right? Yeah. God has the ultimate dad jokes.
I like that.
Okay, this is kind of funny here. The Lord spoke to Moses, go down at once, for your people whom you brought up from the land of Egypt have behaved corruptly. This is now Moses up on the mountain, right? And they're down there making a golden calf. And God's telling them, by the word, the word for people is Okay, is people.
Also nation.
It's nation, yes, a certain people or a certain nation. The Lord spoke to Moses, go down at once for what? Your people. Ameka. By the way, if you put this cough, remember I showed you cough? This is cough. And I said this means this is an open palm. If you put a cough at the end of a word, and by the way, this is one of those letters that has a different shape if it's at the last letter of the word. So this is this, but it's the last letter of the word, so it takes on a different shape. All right? Is that right? No. Okay. And when you put a cough at the end of a word, that's open hand, that's your. So when is people, Mecca would be your people, right? Not just teaching a little Hebrew, that's nothing funny about that. But your people, because you should start recognizing things like that. How did that slide? Where'd that come from? What happened?
You came out, you gotta go back into your corruption type.
That's weird, huh? Well, this, that,
Inserting things in it.
I don't even know how that one got on the screen.
Ah,
Did you do something over there?
no, that's good.
Hey, John, I'm just sending you a post. Oh, your battery burned up. We're out, yeah. Happy.
This, the mouse isn't working? The mouse? Oh, okay, we don't need that. What does that say there? That's that old talk. I'm gonna close that one. That's this one. No.
Somebody's messing with your thing. That's a computer. Look at what? That's a great computer. Yeah,
There's two tabs.
that's a great thing.
This one, wisdom and discernment. But if I click on that, it's, yes. That means save, that means don't save. Okay. Huh. Okay. Please, keep applauding. Okay. So the Lord said, "Go down at once for your people." This is God telling Moses, "Hey, Moses, your people are screwing up." Right? Afterward, Moses and Aaron went down and told Pharaoh, "Thus says the Lord God, let my people go."
Oh,
This is God talking.
yeah.
Afterward, Moses and Aaron went down and told Pharaoh, "Thus says the Lord God, let me." Isn't it funny how sometimes God says, "They're your people, Moses." And sometimes they're my people. Right? If they're doing good, they're mine. If they're not, they're yours. And it's the same word. You see the and he has what at the end? This yod. Yod is the closed hand, my people. Versus Mecca, your people. Ami, my people. I just thought it was funny that God changed the pronouns depending on how the people are behaving. Okay, this one's, how we doing on time? We're okay. Let's have a sippage. Now, Moses said to Aaron, "What did this people do to you that you have brought such a great sin upon them. Aaron said, do not let anger of my Lord burn. You know the people yourself, for they are prone to evil. They said, make a God for us who will go before us. For this Moses, the man who brought us up from the land of Egypt. We do not know what happened to him. So I said to them, whoever has any gold, let them tear it off. And they gave it to me, and I threw it in the fire, and out came this calf. Kind of funny. Aaron is trying to distance himself. I didn't just threw the gold. Look at that. And there was, the punishment fits the crime. You know, remember what happened? Moses destroyed that thing and pulverized it into dust. And the dust he mixed with water and made them drink it. Okay.
Threw the 2 commandment stones down. They turned it to dust.
Say again?
Yeah, when he threw the stones of the 10 commandments, yeah, on the gold calf, it shattered the.
Yeah, it turned into dust.
Oh, amen.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, we're going to go to this one. I don't know what yeah, this was kind of nice. This is good. The mixed multitude who were among them yielded to intense cravings. The children of Israel also wept again and said, who will give us meat to eat? Remember, they're eating manna morning, noon, and night. Okay? We remember the fish which we ate freely, the cucumbers, melons, leeks, onions, garlic. But now our whole was being dried up. There's nothing except manna before our eyes. Manna, manna, manna. You know, they want something else. And saying, you will consecrate yourself tomorrow, and you will eat meat, because you have cried out in the hearing of the Lord, who will feed us meat. But we were better off in Egypt. Therefore the Lord will give you meat, and you will eat it. You will eat it not for 1 or 2 days, nor 5 or 10 or 20, but for a whole month, until it comes out of your nostrils and makes you nauseous, because you have rejected Yahweh. This is God saying this, you know?
Holy smoke.
Why did you ever? Because they're saying, oh, we had it so good in Egypt. No, they didn't, you know? But people do behave like this, you know? So God, you want manna? You don't like manna? You want meat? It's going to come out your nose. And if you ever, I've done this before in Kyrgyzstan, I'll go buy a roasted chicken. And you know, hunger is the best spice. So you get back and you tear off the leg and eat it, and you eat a thigh and you eat and you know, okay, I'm full. And then at night, I still got like more than half a chicken left, and you eat it. And the next morning, there's still some more, like, how much this chicken, I need it to be gone. I'm sick of chicken. You know, imagine 30 days of this meat, yeah, you get tired of it.
Yeah.
There was something I was going to say about manna. I can't remember. Okay, it wasn't funny, it was serious. Here's a good one, Numbers 12. Then Miriam and Aaron spoke against Moses because of the Cushite woman whom he had married, for he had married a Cushite woman. You know where Cush is?
Ethiopia?
It's Ethiopia. Okay, it's below, it's Sudan, Ethiopia. It's not Egypt. Egypt is Mitzrayim, and so it's the area below. And those people are black. Okay, so they're getting on Moses' case for marrying a black woman. And that's Numbers 12:1. And in Numbers 12:10, a mere 9 verses later, it says, but when the cloud had withdrawn from over the tent, behold, Miriam was leprous, as white as snow. As Aaron turned toward Miriam, behold, she was leprous. I think this is funny. It may not be politically correct, but she's getting at Moses for marrying a black woman, so God turns her white. White. Leprous white. Okay. And this one a little bit later in Numbers. Now Korah, the son of somebody, and the son of somebody, the son of Levi, with Dathan and Abiram, the sons of Eliab, here's one. They rose before Moses with some of the children of Israel, 250 leaders. They gathered together against Moses and said to them, "You take too much upon yourself, for all the congregation is holy, every one of them, and the Lord is among them. Why do you exalt yourself over the assembly of the Lord?" So Moses is ruling everything, and then you have a bunch of complainers who are saying, "Well, who gave you the authority to rule over us and make all the decisions?" Okay, that's what's happening here. Then Moses sent a summons to Dathan and Abiram, the sons of Eliab, and he said, "We will not come up." They're defying Moses here. Is it not enough you brought us up out of the land of milk and honey to have us die in the wilderness? Like in Egypt, they were in the land of milk and honey. But you would also appoint yourself as master over us. Indeed, you have not brought us into a land of flowing with milk and honey, nor have you given us an inheritance of fields and vineyards. Would you gouge out the eyes of these men? We will not come up. So what happens is, then Moses said, "By this you will know that the Lord has sent me to do all these deeds, for it is not my doing. If these men die a death of all mankind, or if they suffer the fate of all mankind, then the Lord has not sent me." The Lord brings about an entirely new thing, and the ground opens its mouth and swallows them with everything that is theirs, and they descend alive into Sheol. Then you will know that these men have been disrespectful to the Lord. And as he finished speaking all these words, the ground that was under them split open, and the earth opened its mouth and swallowed them, their households, all the people that belonged to Korah, with all their possessions. And so Moses is saying, listen, if the ground opens up and swallows them, you'll know that whose side God is on. As soon as he finished saying that, the ground opened up and they were swallowed. The funny thing is here, you have not brought us into a land of milk and honey, nor you have given us inheritance of fields and vineyards. Would you gouge out to us? We will not come up. So they went down. There's a long way to go for that little joke, but it's there. This one is Numbers 22 with Balaam, and the elders of Moab and Midian departed with the seer's fee in their hand, and they came to Balaam and spoke to him the words of Balak. And God said to Balaam, "You shall not go with these men, and you shall not curse the people, for they are blessed." And God came to Balaam at night and said to him, "If the men come to call you, rise and go with them, but only the word which I speak to you, that you shall do." So Balaam rose in the morning, saddled his donkey, and went with the princes of Moab. Right? They hired Balaam to curse Israel, and God said, "You're not going to curse them." Right? But Balaam went. And it's kind of funny that Balaam is a seer, but he can't see. Funny. And God's anger was aroused because he went. And the angel of the Lord took his stand in a way as an adversary against him. And he was riding on his donkey and the two servants with him. And the donkey saw the angel of the Lord standing in the way with his drawn sword in his hand. And the donkey turned aside out of the way and went into the field. So Balaam struck the donkey to turn her back onto the road. Then the Lord opened the mouth of the donkey, and she said to Balaam, "What have I done to you that you have struck me these 3 times?" So you have a donkey talking. It's funny, the donkey can see, but the seer can't see. All right? Yes?
Could you give a short illustration of biblical seer?
I don't know much.
I was doing some study on that. I just wanted to see what you thought real quick. Okay. Well,
let's see. So here the seer could not see, which is humorous, and We have Balaam's ass gives Balaam sass. Yes? Nice? Okay. What's the time here? We're good? Okay. But when the sons of Israel cried to the Lord raised up a deliverer for them, Ehud, the son of Gera, the Benjamite, a left-handed man. And the sons of Israel sent tribute by him to Eglon, the king of Moab. Ehud made himself a sword which has two edges, a cubit in length, and he bound it on his right thigh, that'll be over here. He presented the tribute to Eglon, king of Moab, and Eglon was a very fat man. A couple of funny things in here. One, this Ehud is a Benjamite. What does Benjamin mean? Ben is son. Yamin is right hand. So that's interesting that they point out in the same sentence that he's the son of a right hand who's left-handed. It's odd, right? It turns out that all the Benjamites were left-handed, or most of them. We're going to show you more examples. But keep that in mind. And this Eglon, there's his name in the Hebrew. It comes from Egel. And Egel means fatted calf. Okay? And as he said, he was a very large man, and his name kind of implied that. We missed that in English. Okay? A very large man. He had more chins than a Chinese phone book.
We found his picture, didn't you?
Huh?
We found his picture.
Yes, I found his picture.
I found it in his face.
Yes, yes. He put his belt on with a boomerang. Okay, now the sons of Benjamin gathered from the cities of Gibeah to go out to battle the sons of Israel. From the cities on that day, the sons of Benjamin were numbered, 26,000 men who drew the sword. Out of these men, 700 choice men were left-handed. Each one could sling a stone at a hair and not miss. Again, you're pointing out that the sons of Benjamin were left-handed. And there's more examples of that. Every time I mention these sons of Benjamin, it always points out that they're left-handed. In fact, that Ehud, who went into Eglon, remember he said he was left-handed, and he strapped a sword onto his right side. Well, most people, when they would go in to see somebody, they're going to frisk you, they're going to frisk this side, because if you're right-handed, that's where you're going to have your sword. So, he got nothing there, so go on in. Little did they know he had it on this side because he's left-handed, and he could stab and kill the king, which is what happened. Chronicles, these are the ones who came to David at Ziklag while he was still restricted because of Saul. They were equipped with bows, using both right hand and the left to sling stones and shoot arrows. They were Saul's kinsmen from Benjamin. Notice, the soldiers of Benjamin were right and left proficient, ambidextrous. I'm aquadextrous. I can turn the bathroom faucet thing on with my foot. Adjust the hot and the cold. My right foot or my left foot. I'm aquadextrous. Okay.
Let's see this.
So here, Ben Yamin, son of my right hand. Remember Rachel wanted to call him Ben Oni, son of my sorrow. He said, no, son of my right hand. Okay, this is, now we're in Judges. This might be a two-nighter. You know, we'll have to finish tomorrow. Then the men of Israel said to Gideon, rule over us, both you and your son and your grandson also, for you have delivered us from the hand of Midian. But Gideon said to them, I will not rule over you, nor shall my son rule over you. The Lord shall rule over you. So Gideon is emphatic. I am not going to be your king. The Lord will rule. And that's in verse 23. And in verse 24, Gideon said to them, I would like to make a request of you, that each of you would give me the earrings from his plunder, for they had golden earrings, because they were Ishmaelites. So they answered, we will gladly give them. And they spread out a garment, and each man threw the earrings from his plunder. So Gideon says, I will not be your king. And then he imposes a tax like a king. And then, in the next verse, then Gideon made all the gold into an ephod and set it up in his city, Ophrah. And all Israel played the harlot with it there, and it became a snare to Gideon and his house. So Gideon said, I am not going to be your king. And then he makes a golden ephod, a garment designating his high official, like a king. Gideon had 70 sons who were his own offspring, for he had many wives. And his concubine, who was in Shechem, also bore him a son, whose name he called Abimelech. Abimelech. Gideon has a son who he names Abimelech. Abba is father. And what happens when you put a yod? My father. And Melech is king. I will not be your king. And then he names his son, my father is king. It's kind of funny that he insists, I'm not going to be your king, and then he makes a tax, and then he makes a ephod, and then he names his son. What? And they're like the next verse. And what did I want to say about that? Oh, Melech. Melech is king. That's one you should, a Hebrew word you should know. You've heard it in Melchizedek, right? Melech. And it's easy to remember because it's a mem, lamed, kaf, MLK. What's MLK? What do you think of? King. MLK, Melech, there's letters MLK, spell king, Melech. And we know Melech because every city in America has an MLK boulevard. Maybe not Vidor, Texas. Have you ever heard of Vidor, Texas? There's a little town, there are no blacks in Vidor, Texas, and they are extremely racist. It's really a bad place, according to what I hear. Anyway, okay. Here, oh, this is good. We're in Judges now. Samson's time. The woman gave birth to a boy and named him Samson. He grew and the Lord blessed him. That name, Samson, in Hebrew is Shimshon. I was in Israel staying with my friend Reuben for, I used to go over there a lot and spend a week at a time. And we were walking to the store one day and I was trying to tell him, well, remember the story about Samson? He said, who? I said, Samson. Well, I don't know who that is. Samson! How do you not know Samson? You're a Jew, you know Samson, And I kind of remember, he didn't know Exodus either. And you know why? Because he's Jewish. They don't call it Exodus. They call it Shemot. We call it Exodus. So he has no concept of Exodus. And I thought, oh, I bet it's the same thing. So when I tried to describe it, long hair and cut the hair, oh, Shimshon. He knows them. We just have different word names for them, or different pronunciations. So, and Shimshon actually comes from, notice the first three letters, Shin, Mem, Shin. That's the word Shemesh. Shemesh is sun. So, Samson's name is like sunshine. Hey, sunshine, come here. You know, that's what Shemesh, Shimshon. Sun, S-U-N. But got it? And after this, it came about that he loved a woman in the valley of Sorek, whose name was Delilah. Sorek is the choicest vine, and her name is Delilah. The first part, Dal, means low or poor, languishing. That's low. And then Lila is the Hebrew word for nighttime. So we have Shimshon, he is strong, sunshine. And then you have Delilah, who is poor, languishing, nighttime. It's just kind of funny in their names, right? You got sunshine and nighttime. And then the Philistines seized him and gouged out his eyes. They brought him down to Gaza and bound him with bronze chains, and he was a grinder in the prison. I just like this verse because it has a blinding and a binding and a grinding. That's kind of cool. I have to do English to get it, but it's still kind of cool. And then what happens when the sunshine goes to the nighttime? And what happened to Samson? They take his eyes out. It's kind of funny, you know? But you got the daytime, the sunshine going to the nighttime. And what happens when you go to the nighttime? You can't see. And that's what happened to Samson. He couldn't see. Oh, this is just sweet and clever. Okay, you ready for sweet and clever? Maybe we end up on this one. This is Ruth. And there's a blessing here. May the Lord reward your work, and may your wages be full from the Lord, the God of Israel, under whose wings you have come to take refuge. Okay, we good there? Watch this. Look what it says. It says, may your wages be full. The Hebrew word for full is right here. It's shalema. Shin, lamed, mem, hey. Got it? May your wages be shalema. It can mean full or at peace. Shalema. And we know Ruth, she ended up marrying Boaz, and then they had Obed, and then Jesse and David, right? Okay? Then David comforts, a little later, David comforted Bathsheba and went into her and lay with her. So she bore a son, and he called his name Solomon, and the Lord loved him. So they had a baby named Solomon, right? David and Bathsheba. Here's Solomon, here's Bathsheba, had a son and named him Shlomo. That's how the Jews don't call him Solomon, they call him Shlomo. And it's a Shin, Lamed, Mem, Hey. Shlomo. Good? Okay. You know what? Look at this verse we had just a minute ago. And may the Lord reward your work, and may your wages be full. What's full? Shalema. And what was their son? Shlomo. You see anything? It's the same word. The word for full is the same as Shlomo. And you can pronounce it either. Look, if you pronounce it this way, Shalomo. If you pronounce this one, it's Shalama. You can pronounce them different ways, but they're spelled the same. So I think it's kind of clever that the blessing that Ruth gets, may your wages be full. If you want to pronounce that word differently, may your wages be Solomon. And it works because her blessing is going to be Obed, Jesse, David, Solomon, Messiah. Eventually, right?
Yep.
But it's just kind of funny that that word can go either one, and it works down here. And she bore a son, and he called his name Peace. Solomon, Shlomo, or Shalema. It's just a fun play on words that God uses here with these names. And you know these, the genealogy here, and here it is. Salmon, Boaz, Rahab, where did it go? Ruth, Obed, Jesse, David, Shlomo. Okay. What do you think? We good? Okay, let's have a little prayer here. All right. Dear Heavenly Father, awesome God, knock, knock. Thank you, God, for humor. Thank you for giving us that. It makes life so much fun. And all your clever plays on words. And just thank you for exposing and showing us those tonight and more tomorrow. We ask that you take us home safely, bring us back safely tomorrow, and just bless us. And as we bless you. And we ask that there will be peace in Jerusalem, and we ask this in Yeshua HaMashiach's name, Jesus the Messiah. Amen.
Hey, John, I'm going to set our little bag maybe up here on the front table here, if anybody wants to contribute tonight. I have one of those things I have to share real quick, John, about what you said about if you want to see God laugh, tell him your plans. So probably 24 or so years ago, I was singing on the worship team at the church I was at, which I would eventually become the worship leader, and eventually he would call me to do this, okay? But I was just singing on the worship team. And it was a Sunday evening service, and we were having our afternoon practice for that night. And the worship leader introduced us to a new song. And it was distinctly Jewish sounding, okay? The song was, whose report will you believe? We shall believe the report of the Lord. And then you repeat that over and over. And I just hated it. I'm like, I don't like this song. And as a matter of fact, it's funny because I want you to understand, I've never been anti-Semitic. I just was ambivalent, didn't have any thought about it. So anyway, I was like, I don't like that sound. That's not me. I'm going to sit out tonight. And so I did. I told the worship leader, I'm not going to sing tonight. I'm just going to sit out. You guys do this. So they get up there and they're doing whose report will you believe, and the congregation likes it pretty good, but I'm just sitting there, yeah. So I just want you to think of the irony of what I'm doing now. Because I'm sure that day he said, oh, Neil, you're sitting this out. wait till you see what I've got in store for you, young man, because now I'm leading a fellowship where we do a whole lot of Jewish music. We are a Hebraic worship fellowship. And I just think that it's really a great example, an ultimate irony. That's the way it worked, you know, so I want to share that. Thank you all for coming tonight. John, thank you. You did a great job. So we love you. And we'll see you guys tomorrow night.